some of you already know what I'm about to share, and then some of you don't. And so if you know what I'm about to share, and as I share it, if you're like, yeah, I know that, I invite you to open your heart even more, listen with bigger ears, because there could be a little tiny bit of newness in there for you, or it could just be a deeper integration. Cool? Awesome. I want to share with you what it means to have a light code blast, and then what it means to receptivity and how much more receptive we are to receive more or less, and where our edges are, where the edges, every one of us has an edge to our grid, meaning we have the edge, and we call this, the end of our comfort zone, right? We all have this, and if we go too far past the edge, it can actually have the mind, kind of short circuit a little bit, and it can have the emotional body short circuit, definitely the energetic body short circuit, and you could find yourself in a place where too much came in too fast, and you need to repair, like realign your meridian lines could be completely out of whack. Does this make sense? So I want to share this with you because you get to check. And from previous trainings, when I gave you the bonus trainings, for those of you that did it, you literally got shown how to reset meridian lines through surrogate work, where you can literally put an arm into surrogate for all meridian lines, flush them and run them and clear the whole meridian system. What I've found often is when someone's blasted with light codes and then they're also doing more on top of this, they can literally fry and go out of whack. And the first place I always check is the meridian system and the energetic system, just to make sure the energetics are still flowing. It's just because the person's not going to be receptive and you're not going to be receptive to receiving more. Does that make sense? So before the spaceship takes off today, you'll all be going and we're doing like a groups. I'm going to be taking you in and we're doing like this group surrogate full body service. Let's call it an ascension service where we're going to check all the systems and we're going to have all of you go into one surrogate. I'm actually going to take, with your permission, all of you into my field and surrogate literally for our whole collective with a specific technology in my field. And I'm going to be clearing every single thing before we go, just to make sure you can receive this to the fullest. Yeah? So, what I mean by light code blasts. So when we get a shower of light, it would be logical for us to think that if I'm being showered with light, I'm bathing in templates of light, I should feel really, really good, right? It should be like heaven. However, it can also, what it can do is kind of be more like being out in the sun too long. Does this make sense? That the light itself, what it does, one of the primary things that, like one of the pieces around the light being shared into Earth and into our fields through higher realm portals from beautiful star races, is the light codes are activating DNA, supporting the transformation of our cellular system, like literally, yet what they're also doing is, in order for that light to stabilize, in order for our light quota, for our body, our field to be able to hold more light quota, there's also a purge. It's literally a spring clean. So when the light comes down, stuff that you may not have been conscious of has been suppressed, subconsciously. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, I feel so much pain. Whoa, I feel lonely. Whoa, I feel this emptiness, this sadness. And I want to share this with you just as an expansion of if this is happening. Like, I really do feel that our next Lionsgate portal will be very, very strong. On the 8th of the 8th, we're being prepared for it right now. We're literally still sort of like receiving the remnants of the 7-7 portal. If that makes sense, because all portals are before and after. So the Syrian 7-7 portal that we're currently in is sending so much light. Like, there's so much light available, and allow yourself to know that if there is these things coming up, to be gentle with yourself, because when there's a lot of light being added into the field and we're purging densities, which means that we're like, whoa, I feel all these things. We don't have as much room in our grid anymore. Our grid is super, super full. And yes, we can expand it and stretch it, yet that's ultimately not always the highest good. Sometimes, instead of trying to make more room in our energetic field, will you tell me, what would be in the highest good if your ascension grid is friggin' maxed out? Or your client's ascension grid is maxed out? Please tell me in the chat, what actually would be in the highest good? Integrate, ground, recalibrate, integrate, relax. Sotoi iktiara, sotoi iktiara, ha iktiara, sotoi, nature, beautiful. I'm gonna really put one out there and be extremely nurturing to yourself and others, and simplify things. This is rest time, yeah? Calibrate, tune in everything that you're saying, right? Now, what that means though is we also want to be checking in. We want to be feeling into our field. We want to have a relationship with our own energetic field, with our own ascension field, to know when it's at the edges. Because when we are at the edges of our upgrades and our purging, then it's important to simplify our physical world, to reduce our responsibilities. You'll even find that when this is happening, it's like projects or, maybe even expanding your mission on Earth starts to feel a bit overwhelming. Who here's ever felt overwhelmed by your mission, right? And this is where it's not that you're actually overwhelmed by your mission, it's just in that moment in time, the grid is quite full. Does this make sense? And so it's always the invitation is to take a step back, breathe, and expand time. It's not expand ourselves. On planet Earth, we were kind of trained to push ourselves, expand ourselves. Any one of you who received higher, high achiever templates and codes, you can relate to, have another coffee, stay up a bit later. I can power through this. Raise your hand if you can relate to that, right? And what that means is we've been trained to push ourselves, fill our whole grid, ooze outside of it, and we kind of got told that was a good thing, that wow, and some of us subconsciously through different lifetimes on this planet being warriors of light, carrying the warrior template, could enter that field and do that really well. Now, yes, that is an opportunity. Yes, we can totally power through. And sometimes, depending on what's going on, it's nice to be able to have access to that capability. Yet, would you agree with me that it's not our highest timeline for ascension or mission? Right? Because the frequency we're then, growing our mission in, and the frequency we're ascending in, would you say that it's coming from love or fear? And instead, what becomes counterintuitive is to slow down, is to take a break, is to go, that's okay. I can just, I can sit out for a moment. And allowing ourselves that space. Calibrating, beautiful. So, almost ready for the process, just preparing the field a little bit more. What you can also do to be conscious of this, right, is to be asking, right now that I'm going through, is this because of a light code shower, a light code? Is it because of the light codes that are coming through, or is there something else? And you can actually have a look. Is it the integration of magic school? Is it a light code shower? Is it this? Is it that? And the precision of that actually gives us a lot. As practitioners and also as in our own ascension journey, there's so much more precision in what we're going through. Because the majority of the time when we're receiving a light code shower and there's a purge associated to that shower, sometimes we'll have a light code shower come through and all it does is literally activate and awaken light codes within us. And so it feels really expansive and it's just like, whoa, it's like waking up fresh as a daisy in the morning. And other times it's literally a spring clean. And quite often the spring clean's got nothing to do with this lifetime. So I want to take you back into, and this is where so relevant to the work that we're doing right now, because timeline work is realities work. It's like we could be working in timelines that are not relevant to this version of ourselves, but because in our multidimensionality, we're interconnected with all versions of ourselves, parallel, alternate. And then we go through into the oversoul network, where it's literally every lifetime our soul has had is us. And we can be harmonizing that, which means that you could literally in the last few days have been purging from completely other lifetimes. Not even this one, nothing to do with this one. You know, does this resonate? And so you can ask around that and ask what can I like really be conscious when you're going through these processes and when your clients are. And so when I tuned in and tuned into the field of Magic School, I really did receive that one, it was important to have this chat first, and two, it was important to do a group ascension service and just to check all the systems, align all the systems for everyone and do a bit of a service, and just to renew some stuff, and then we could continue with the work. Is this helpful to sort of slow down? And yep, Sarah says, thank goodness, it's exactly what I need, a service. So helpful, says Austin, awesome. Lol, guess I need to change my brand. I call myself the Mama Warrior Preneur, but I created that name from a place of love. Yes, I feel the love. And the numerology with the name is a high vibration. It's more just looking at, and I kind of want to stop here for a second, because in the ascension, like in the world of ascension, the warrior of light is used quite often. Who has related to warrior of light, that you're a warrior of light, right? Now, by the way, you can relate to that for as long as it feels resonant. And then there'll come a time where there's more and more light codes going into the field and integrating. There'll come a time where the association to that aspect of ourselves within our oversoul network no longer resonates, because we no longer have any susceptibility or desire to be at war. Does that resonate? That the more light codes we hold, we actually don't want to go to war with anyone. We don't need to be a warrior anymore. Yet, in different configurations of self, it's actually really appropriate. Meaning that if I chuck someone into the underworld, having a warrior codex is really going to serve. Because if I chuck a beautiful, angelic being of light, all light and love, into the underworld, they're not going to last very long. The poor little thing will get chewed up and spat out. Does that resonate? So, from that perspective, Tangi, you really get to sit with, is this, especially when it comes to our beautiful Divine Mission businesses, I change stuff all the time. There's upgrades to websites, upgrades to everything, upgrades to my brand message, upgrades to, we'll literally go in and we'll have to even now I'll be doing another website audit and going through different things and change, because it doesn't resonate anymore. It was a different version of me who created it, and that's not the same me anymore. It's the fun part of having been an ascended soul in business, because the art continues, and it can also be, you can look at it like, oh man, I can't just finish my website because you're ascending. It's a different version of you so far, so it has to change. And on the other hand, it's also fun because it's creative. It's the art gets to continue evolving. So if that resonates, then you get to sit with, does that even work? Because Mamapreneur works without warrior. Does that resonate for you, Tangi? Yes, thank you. When I began this journey as the Mama Warriorpreneur for empowering single mums, but it's expanding for all mamas. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Melinda says I don't resonate with being called a warrior. Yep, and I don't either. And I'm not a warrior of light. I resonate with being a leader of light, a keeper of light codes. I'm not even a guardian of light, because guardian means that I need to guard. And that doesn't mean that I don't co-create with guardians who are looking after me multidimensionally, because I'm a multidimensional soul and they work within the other realms of existence. Yet I choose to anchor into the higher realms of existence, which means I don't need to guard anything, I don't need to war about anything. I just get to be a keeper, a holder, a leader of light. And that feels so good. That's like, yeah, it's like a jumper that fits, Siktiara. One more piece here. And it's also a reminder for anyone that requires it to be really loving with ourselves through ascension, that, you know, you could like, that this is happening, that we are transforming, and the transformation takes years to fully transform and have our body go from, you know, carbon to crystalline to more of a plasma. Like, you know, it can't happen instantly. It's too much of a shock. And this is also an invitation for everyone to really to slow down a bit and feel the grids, to look at, sometimes we get excited and we put all of these new projects in and we want to do them all. And then ascension will come and we'll get a light code blast, and all of a sudden we're going through upgrades or purges, and we've got to be flexible and loving with ourselves to go, that's okay. Trusting that what's coming through is more important, creating some space for it. Yeah. Who here's ever does anyone here ever beat themselves if you're online? Because I felt it in the grid of the collective. Who here's ever frustrated if you're going through ascension symptoms that are purge based and you can't physically do some shit in the world that you wanted to do? Like, give me a yes or raise your hand if you've experienced some frustration with yourself. Okay, cool. Because this is part of what I've been guided to support with today. I want to ask you, right? So much calibration. I want to ask you, knowing that our frequency is literally opening portals and doors to realities, meaning if I've got imagine that I've got this whole big ring filled with all these keys, and every key opens up into different realities. Cool, it's like the keeper of keys. I've got all these keys, you know, and each one of them's a frequency. There's love, there's happiness, there's joy, there's abundance, right? And then there's frustration, anger, yeah? I'm kind of curious, what door do you think you'd be opening? What realities would we be opening with the frustration key when it comes to getting our shit done in the physical world? Would it be the reality that has everything done in it? And so I share this with you because there's also a journey around allowing. This is part of trust and surrender, where it's helping us purge control. That if we have a light code shower and we start to, we're like, whoa, we're out for 2 days purging emotions. Yeah. In that moment, we get to ask, what would love do right now? How can I be even more loving to myself? How would love show up right now? And then what happens is we literally get to shift into a completely different configuration. Plus, we're using the love key. I'm sharing this with you because when frustration shows up, I'd love for you to see the frustration as it's showing you there is something within the field that's still, there's something in the field that's not resonating with the capability to truly love ourselves and to truly hold light codes of love within our field no matter what. Because does that make sense? Like, here's what love would do. Okay, love would go, okay, what is this? It's a light blast. Love would ask the soul, is this in my highest good, or can I pause this? This is in your highest good. Then, okay, cool, I trust you, soul, that if you tell me this is in my highest good with your perspective, soul family, if you tell me that this current purge is a much higher timeline for me than me not being in purge and getting all that stuff I wanted done, I trust you, I believe you, and I thank you for your guidance. And I'm just going to now allow this to happen. Versus, meh, do you feel the difference? Like when we go in and go, I'm frustrated, observe the frustration. Okay, if I'm frustrated, it means there's an opportunity here. Celebrate it. Yay, I'm frustrated. That means I've got the opportunity to literally unlock a whole new codex of light and embody it into my field. If I'm willing to go through the frustration and evolve the frustration. And then there comes a time where we don't get frustrated anymore. When this stuff happens, ironically, that's when so much more light stabilizes into our cells. And then when light showers come, the feeling of it is more an expansion, awakening. into a new day, it's like a whoa, new abilities, new functions awaken within us. Does this resonate? Yeah, that's the window is noticing if we're frustrated that we've just been sideswiped from doing something in the physical world, you know, through a process. Yeah? And then on the flip side, we can ask for a pause if it's appropriate. Okay, you know, we can actually be like, okay, soul family, soul, with our pendulum or just with our intuition or with our channel, you know, is this a priority? Out of everything that's going on, out of every timeline that's available for me, is this my highest timeline? Because who here has ever thought that your highest timeline always has you feeling amazing in it? Raise your hand if you think your highest timelines are the ones where you're super friggin' excited and horny and yep. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes the highest timeline is us purging lifetimes of heartbreak so we can experience love like we've never experienced it before tomorrow. And there's a complete misconception with what highest timeline means. Yeah? So that's why, is this my highest timeline? Yes. And is this process I'm going through really important? Like, you know, just because our human mind can't put the pieces together, sometimes our consciousness can't even channel in the answer because it's beyond the answer to the equation of why this is the highest timeline is beyond our consciousness. So even if our soul family is trying to give it to us, it's like they're speaking Chinese and we can't. Does that make sense? So Melinda says yes, most of the time frustration comes because it's too much. There's too much happening and it's difficult to stop and step back. Yes. So ikhtiara. The biggest message here for you is if any one of you chooses to take this on, like if any one of you is like resonating with this and goes, okay, you know what, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to write a note for myself and remember that frustration is not me, like during ascension is not me, because sometimes we think it's like you trying to tell yourself that something's not in alignment, you know, yet often it's not. It's actually the window into a completely new universe. And so if you resonate, I invite you to take this on because the next month there is going to continue, like we are going to continue receiving light code baths. There's a lot preparing us right now. There'll be a little bit of being shown, there'll be a little bit of a like, you know, we'll mellow out a little bit and then come, you know, before the 8-8 portal, during the 8-8 portal and after, it's going to be another huge quantum shift. Last year, we had a gigantic quantum shift throughout the 8-8 portal. It was massive. So many people were purging separation. Separation frequencies in the lower realms were also being blasted into the world. It was pretty intense. Who here remembers last year's 8-8 portal? And who here remembers it being pretty friggin' intense? So it doesn't have to be though. Do you know what I mean? It's only intense when we're controlling it. It's by the way, it's, you know, having a graceful ascension's got nothing to do with, oh, I'm not getting blasted with light anymore. It's got everything to do with how we co-create with that light. Cool? So this is the invitation. I promise any one of you that takes this on, that you slow down and you just go, okay, you know, I'm preparing for a light code blast. What an awesome thing that for the next, you know, month plus, there's going to be so much light. I'll be able to quantum shift through this. And then inside the Magic School grid, there's also more available. Does this make sense? And we can only receive as much as we can hold in our field, which means that if you take this on, if you actually slow down and tune in and go, hey, is this light codes or is this just something specific to this current reality? And you allow yourself to allow the light. Now, by the way, allowing the light, the training I got from my soul family was to literally lie down and relax and it's kind of like going into a state where I relax my face, my arms, my fingers, kind of like pre-meditation, you know, like guided meditations will get you to relax all your muscles and stuff. So relax the body. And then what I was guided to do was literally open up my atoms, relax my atoms, and practice the art of just being with my atoms open and allowing the light. Now, tune into this with me. What's the difference between consciously receiving the light versus the light just beaming at you and you being all like, man, that's really freaking bright. What's the difference? Do you feel the difference? So now just tune in and relax. Open up and imagine yourself in a shower of light. Imagine closing your eyes. Imagine ourselves in this beautiful shower of light with all these light beings around us, our soul family around us, and light showering. And now imagine it's like you're lying down on a sunny day and you're enjoying the sun. You're on a beautiful, comfortable day bed, and now opening the skin, opening the atoms to the light. And saying thank you. Thank you for this beautiful light. Thank you for these light codes, beautiful beings of light. Some of you will find that your skin tingles. You'll actually feel the light in your cells, like you're on a plant medicine journey when you do this. Opening our hearts, breathing into our hearts and out. And from this place, I invite you to just stay here with your eyes closed, your body relaxed, and allowing the light, receiving it fully with a full heart, receiving it, being grateful for it. It's seeing how it's such a gift, you know, that these light code baths are literally supporting full-blown rapid ascension. That could have taken millions of years can happen in a lifetime.